Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks, the short-form weekly podcast where we skip the intro and jump right into it. I'm your host, Nacho, and I'm joined this week by my colleagues,
RJ
and
Morgan.
And this week, we're going to tackle the topic of two-tone and gold watches.
Finally,
right? You've been waiting for this.
Yeah, because now we call RJ the gold master
Or
at the
two-tone
office.
Timmy.
Yeah.
But so, starting off, what is on your wrist today, RJ?
it's not two-tone, it's just one tone
Yeah.
of gold. It's the Rolex Day-Date 18238 from 1991.
Beautiful.
On the President bracelet.
That's the way to wear it.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. And Morgan, on your wrist?
It's also my one-tone steel Serica 5303 with the white dial.
Perfect. When we put you guys together, then it's two-tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I should put my bracelet on your watch.
Or not.
I don't think so.
I know it probably will not match the watch.
Well,
How about yourself?
And yeah, on my wrist, I'm wearing this Chronograph Swiss. It's a vintage piece, I believe, from the 40s, and it's pink gold, but the dial is a little bit more yellow, so it looks a bit green. But yeah, it's solid,
Nice.
Solid as these get. Basically, they're not. They were never the most fancy or expensive watches, and they sort of have semi-hollow lugs and that kind of thing, and the case back is quite thin, but. Yeah, it's still, all that glitters is gold, and it's...
Landerol movement, right?
I believe so, yeah, 48 or...
Yeah,
like
Landerol
that.
48, I think. Yeah.
So you start the chronograph with the top pusher, and you pause it with the bottom, and reset with the bottom,
Yeah.
which is a little bit unusual. And every
Yeah.
time, the first time I use it, I end up trying to press the top pusher twice. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. But so this is my my contribution to the
Nice.
golden theme. And
Yeah.
I think that we should kick off with gold watches and then move on to two-tone. So starting off with gold watches, RJ, you have a little more experience than Morgan, so we'll start with you.
It will come, Morgan.
What was
I hope. I mean, my
We all
wallet.
get there.
Yeah, I'm asking for that. My wallet is not happy with gold.
But,
Yeah.
but
That's the
maybe that's
thing.
an interesting place to start because gold watches, of course, are expensive.
Yeah.
They can be more expensive than steel watches, but they don't necessarily have to be more expensive. All of my gold watches I've paid less than €1,000 for, but maybe that's a bit of an exception. I mean, I believe this was, I think, 450.
Yeah,
or
I had the
600
same.
euros.
Mine was a Titus, which is also
Oh,
the
right,
same
yeah.
Chrono Suisse kind of
Just
brand.
different sign dial.
And from what I've learned, but it's a long time ago that I had that watch, is that they made these cases hollow, basically, because of the exporting them to the US.
Mhm.
In the US, there were import restrictions on gold.
Okay.
And it had to do with the weight, so they made them lighter by making
Right.
them hollow.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. My first nice watch basically was a two-tone Constellation.
Oh, nice.
My
Very nice.
first full gold was a Seamaster DeVille.
Okay.
I think it was a 60s watch, automatic. And I think I paid like €750. So that must have been 2004, 2005, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And solid gold. So not a gold capped or
No,
whatever.
sure, yeah.
Just a solid gold watch on a leather strap. And I don't think you can get those watches for that kind of money anymore. But it's also not that they tripled the price or something.
No, so that's the thing. I wanted to ask you, do you think that there's a lot of value hiding in vintage gold watches as opposed to modern? Because modern
definitely.
obviously is heavy hitters even from Rolex and Omega. Those are going to be pricey, but I think vintage...
Oh, definitely. I think so the watches I also collect besides Speedmasters are Constellations. And I think I purchased some gold Constellations from the 60s that can be found for not that much more than steel versions. I also own some steel versions that are more expensive than the gold ones.
Yeah.
Also depending a little bit on condition and exact production year. But I think there's still some very interesting watches to be found in that segment, like dress watches on a leather strap with a gold case.
Yeah,
I think they can be had for an interesting price.
And just about any brand. You can get them from
Long-
IWC,
Yeah, Longines,
Longines.
IWC, the Caliber 89. You can find some very nice models, but also more modern. I was looking at Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso not too long ago.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And I noticed that a full gold version of a few years old is cheaper than the retail price of a new one in steel.
Wow.
So you can find them around 10, 11K. You have a full gold Reverso. And that's still a lot of money. So I would not call that entry level.
Right,
But
right.
if you are looking for a gold watch, a dress watch, I think you can pick them up, like you say, still under €1,000, depending on the brand
Right.
and condition. Yeah.
And do you think everyone should be looking for a gold watch? Do you think it's part of every collector's journey, or you think it's a question of taste? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a question of acquired taste. Okay. No, it's a question of taste. A friend of mine, he is a watchmaker, but also a goldsmith. And he not only, but he mainly buys gold watches because he also says, well, there's like a certain value that will always be there in that watch because it's made of gold.
Yeah, because of the gold itself.
Exactly. Yeah. And on top, he said, if there's anything with the watch that scratches or dents or whatsoever, he can always fix it himself.
Yeah,
there's no issue whatsoever. Yeah. And with steel, you polish it off, and you can, with laser welding, I think you can add it again.
True, yeah.
But I don't think that's a very cheap solution or easy solution to do. No. And with gold, it's a little bit easier to fix it, basically. Yeah. But that's also something you have to keep in mind that gold is a soft material, so it will be more prone to scratches and so on.
Sure. You're also not wearing your gold watch how you would a steel watch, right? You're not going to go to the beach.
Well,
you might.
I think RJ does that.
If you fully embrace the gold lifestyle, then sure. But so, for you, Morgan, what do you find that there is an appeal for you personally in gold watches? Are there any models that really come to mind as the one that you would want to jump onto?
For now,
Solid
I think for now I would be more two-tone yet.
Okay.
I mean, maybe start with two-tone before jumping in the
gold.
Sure.
Yeah. But I do like the watch you're wearing now, RJ. That's a good one.
Classic.
And also, we saw you a lot with the full gold Speedmaster, which is also a really, really good one.
Every Tuesday.
These two, I mean, if money was no problem, of course I would buy a gold watch, but probably more a yellow gold because white gold. Yeah. It's a heavy watch also, but white gold from it's like steel, even if it's not exactly the same color and everything. But for me, if I want to go gold, I would go like rose gold or yellow gold.
Yeah. So before we talk about different colors of gold, I wanted to ask you, would you ever be sort of drawn to a vintage, like a Breitling or a Doxa or something, a Longines, something like that? One of these 34, 35 millimeter dressier kind of pieces in solid gold.
Well, gold is not the problem, I think. It's more the dress watch for me now because I just bought a new watch and I wanted in the first place something more dressy.
Sure.
But in the end, I think I'm not that much of a dressy guy, so I'm not into dress watches yet.
Right.
But I think if I'm going vintage with a dress watch, I would go for gold. Yeah,
for sure. That certainly beats gold plated. And so then moving on to other colors of gold. Obviously, you have yellow gold here. I have pink gold. What do you think about white gold? Would you ever buy like a Canopus Gold Speedmaster, or is that a little too close to steel?
Well, for me, that's a very stealth watch. But if you pick it up, you immediately feel that the Canopus White Gold Speedmaster with bracelet.
Yeah, that's really heavy.
It's a heavy watch, and it's that's a watch I would consider in white gold. Also, a white gold day date with president bracelet, I think is nice.
But does the stealthy appeal really appeal, or would you rather it be like gold? If proud.
It depends. If it was for me to just buy only one gold watch,
right.
I would buy yellow or rose gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a couple of gold watches in yellow or rose, I think it's also nice to have a white gold at some point.
So you will have a white gold at some point.
At some point. Yeah, why not? I mean, I bought a Breguet in gold, in yellow gold earlier this year.
Yeah. Tradition, yeah.
Yeah, but Daan has a beautiful white gold Classique from Breguet. And I think the thing with the white gold Breguet Classique is that you can combine it nicely with more different straps. Yeah. Whereas with yellow gold, you're a bit more bound to certain colors.
Yeah.
And you can dress it a little bit down, or you can make it look vintage with white gold and a certain strap. And I think that was nice what Daan did with his Breguet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But a white gold day date would be nice with a nice Roman numeral dial.
We were joking the other day and we were saying, well, if you're going white gold, you might as well go platinum, right? Get the full heavy.
An option. And the funny thing is that platinum for a long time was more expensive than gold. And these days it's a little bit, the price per gram is lower of platinum. But platinum watches are still more expensive. And that also has to do with the tooling. You need different tooling again for platinum than for gold.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But it wears out quicker.
about the weight of gold watches and white gold and even more platinum. I'm not sure everybody already handled like gold watch in his hand, but yeah, it's like really heavy compared to steel. And when you have like a white gold watch in hand, you can tell like immediately that's not steel. Yeah. And that makes me think of when we were at Brussels earlier this year with all the new Daytona. Yeah. It was only precious metal Daytona. They brought us like a box. The box was so heavy, like it was like so heavy. There was like maybe, I don't know, like 10 or 12 watches inside.
Oh wow!
It was only gold, yellow gold, or platinum, or
Daytonas.
Daytonas, and it was so heavy. And I remember that, like, wow,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
you immediately feel it, and that's also something that sometimes doesn't really click in your head when you see a white gold watch and you pick it up. So that's strange.
True.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different, a little bit more yellowish steel, I would say.
Yeah.
And then quick rapid fire question. Any gold watches on your radar at the moment?
No, two-tone I would say yes. In full gold, well, I handled a Rolex Submariner with the Lapis dial a few weeks ago. And I think that was a really amazing watch in yellow gold.
Beautiful.
But, and for the rest, sorry. No, nothing specific. I'm more into two-tone watches that are on my radar, like the new GMT Master 2 with the Jubilee bracelet.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit doubting about root beer one.
Okay.
So the rose gold.
The root beer is nice also.
It's also nice, but I like the Jubilee and the yellow gold. Yeah.
Yeah. Your latest two-tone. So moving on to a little bit into two-tone territory.
Two-tone territory.
Two-tone territory, exactly. Your latest was the Abel, right?
Yes.
The Abel El Primero.
Yeah. That's a funny
thing. Which is very of its time. Like it really represents the time when two-tone
80s,
was...
yeah.
It feels very 80s.
Yeah, and
90s, early 90s maybe.
Yeah, so there was, from the top of my head, 84, 85. Mine is from 86, I think, my Abel El Primero. And so it has a gold bezel.
Okay, right.
Gold crown. And the bracelet is also in two-tone. But that was from an era where two-tone was just a thing, like the Omega Constellation in two-tone. Yeah. I think the perfect example of the two-tone watch is a Rolex Datejust.
Yeah, for sure. That's
and I have a Datejust in steel with a white gold bezel, but for me, a Datejust, it should be in two-tone. For me, that's a watch that
really
belongs in two-tone.
Okay. I wanted to you on that one.
Really, you would also go two-tone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if I agree. For me the Datejust.
For me that's a two-tone, and also the constellation. Man, I love the Manhattan constellations, the Constellation 95, and for me that has to be in two-tone.
It's you like guys for me the Santos. Actually, the Santos
is also great in two-tone.
Yeah, for me it's two-tone also.
So I wanted to ask like sort of a general question for the three of us, like which watches do you think are better in two-tone? So obviously Datejust for you guys. I don't fully agree there. I like the one you have with the low key white gold bezel. I find that absolutely perfect. Santos, absolutely. Two-tone is the way to go with that watch.
I agree with you. I mean, I like Dan's watch, but that one in two-tone for me is better.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's fantastic.
And recently I had the Chopin Mille.
Oh yeah, true.
It was also in two-tone.
That was really good.
With the blue dial.
For me, two-tone on somewhat, not all watches, but on some watches it adds a little bit of flair. Yeah. A little bit more contrast on the bracelet or on the with the bezel and for me the Datejust in two-tone is it's very Wall Street. I think Wall Street 80s.
It makes us all think of that misidentified American Psycho.
Which was a Seiko. Exactly.
and a watch I like also in two-tone, and I'm sure you would not agree because we talked about that already at the office. But that's the Rolex Explorer 36 millimeters. So the latest one.
You can go too far, man.
They introduced the two-tone version 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, 3 years ago. So I have to say, I own the steel one. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind switching for the two-tone. I really love it. I really love that one.
I think you're almost ready for gold.
Yeah, maybe.
Those are the first signs.
It's those thoughts that.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it.
Those are typical watches where it doesn't work for me because I think the Explorer, but also the Sea Dweller, those are like one of the few really tool watches that Rolex has.
Yeah, but you like a full gold sub.
Yeah, but for me that's but I think the Sea Dweller is more of a tool watch than a Submariner. It's a more professional watch than a
Sure.
Submariner. And I think Explorer is so basic and so nice. For me, the Explorer is one of the nicest Rolex models there is.
Yeah.
And so pure. And then I think, oh man, that should be.
Yeah, I'm a pure guy. I own one.
Yeah, very good. No, but I think that the it does look nice, but for me it just disconnects with the model as such.
Okay.
But for me, what I also find interesting is I'm working on an article together with Jorg on. It will be out when we publish this podcast. Is about the Submariner date in steel versus in two-tone with the blue dial.
Oh yeah, the Sunday morning.
Because we noticed that the prices are coming a little bit down on certain models. But we also see that demand for a full steel Submariner is still high, so it's above list price.
Right.
And the two-tones are more or less around list price. So the gap is very, very small between a full steel sub and a two-tone sub. So would you get the two-tone and pay retail, or pay a little bit over retail for a full steel one? I don't get why you should not buy a two-tone. I mean, if you like gold.
Right.
I mean, for the Submariner, maybe the two-tone with the black dial, I would buy that one over the one with the blue dial.
Yeah, also fine. Yeah.
And if it costs the same price, I'm gonna go with the two-tone.
And the same for the GMT Masters. I see the GMT Pepsi is still, man, they retail at 10, but they still go for a lot more.
Yeah.
And the two-tones are coming down a little bit, still above retail, because those retail for like 16, 17,000 euros. And the asking prices on the market are like around 18.
Yeah.
So it's very close to retail, but it's the same price as a full steel one. Man, I would go always two-tone.
I think
on
that
those.
for me that's the two-tone exception for Rolex is the GMT Master. The one with the new one with the gray bezel
and the Jubilee.
half gray.
that
the
one
Jubilee.
is
I think
really great.
I really like that. Anything else two-tone from Rolex, I would pay the premium for steel. I
Yeah?
have to say.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. But then, then that sort of takes us into oddball sports watches that also use two-tone, and makes me think of Breitling, because Breitling did two-tone for a long time, as we know.
I love
like
the
those-
vintage. The vintage.
I like those chronomats.
Yeah, exactly. Those one, and also
But
some.
the problem
those
with
are-
those is that it's gold-plated. So the crown, the gold on the crown will wear off and so on. And that's for me is a no-go.
Yeah, like the Cartier
You
watches.
can easily
a lot of
replace it
them.
and so on. But the more modern ones from like 2000 onwards, perhaps a little bit in the late 90s, it's solid gold.
But on your elbow, the chronograph pushers, it's gold plated, right? And the crown is gold, or
No, I think
The crown might be solid, right?
the
I
crown
think
is solid
I think
gold.
on the case itself, everything is solid.
Okay.
But on the bracelet, it's
Electroplated.
It's electroplated.
yeah, of course, because it's only inside of the links.
Yeah, exactly.
So then I'm also now thinking down the Breitling rabbit hole, and I think of the Aerospace, a watch that both of us have.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, they also made that in two-tone.
Correct.
So how do we feel about two-tone with titanium?
I think that's fun because I have a tri-metal watch. It's a Seamaster 300M chronograph
True.
that is
Great watch.
titanium tantalum, which is a bit of blue-gray, heavy material, and rose gold.
But it's a little bit weird because you were telling that for you, the sport watches like from Rolex, like the Explorer or the Sea Dweller, they don't need gold at all. And now you're talking about like another like sport watch and everything.
I have one in steel as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
No,
I
but
know,
it-
but
it's
I mean,
also-
you
it's
know, it's
also
like
the-
kind of weird because for me, it's the Breitling is like kind of a sport watch. I mean,
No,
yeah,
but it's not
absolutely.
it's not that a sports watch cannot be in two-tone because the GMT is also a sports watch or a Submariner. But the Explorer for me is just a very pure tool watch.
Okay.
So I make a bit of a distinction there. But it's all personal opinions. So
yeah,
it's-
of course.
But yeah, Breitling has a number of watches that are interesting in two-tone. And
Definitely.
for me, a lot of them also look better in two-tone, to be honest.
And also the Navitimer. I saw a small Navitimer, not too busy dial,
Yeah.
and it has like also it's two-tone with the gold bezel and everything. It's cool.
Yeah.
Really
And then, so how do we also feel about two-tone using other metals that aren't gold? So sort of like some watches from Oris and other brands that use bronze in combination with steel.
Yeah, we did a bronze watch with Oris, the
Full bronze,
Fratello Oris.
the pointer date.
Yeah,
the
except the
crown pointer
case
date.
back, which is in steel, which has to do with your skin.
Allergic.
Yeah.
And allergic.
Because
Allergic.
bronze can give a reaction. It's not that good for your wrist as well. Well, I don't dislike bronze. The thing I have against bronze is that it will. At first, it looks gold, and I think a lot of people buy bronze watches because it looks like gold.
Right.
but that will quickly wear off. It will quickly turn
the patina
very dark.
Kicks in from the second you start wearing it. Basically.
So you need to make sure that you like that heavy patina on a watch.
But you can still recover it by using like citrus.
I did once, but within a few weeks, it's just
for sure.
Of course,
very dark again.
Cool. Yeah, I was also thinking because we were talking about very sporty sports watches that are in two-tone. It makes me think of the Citizen Aqualands from the mid '80s. That were also a lot of these watches with a big depth gauge at 9.
Yeah,
that were also for some reason back then done in two-tone.
Yeah,
like you have two-tone cased watches with a full lume dial and a depth gauge. I think that's as weird.
I think it
as
was very 80s and 90s because I think
definitely.
one of my first like proper watches was a Seiko or Pulsar, I don't know, a few $100.
Yeah,
and it was titanium and gold as well.
Yeah, you can still get those today, like a brand new quartz Seiko in titanium with gold accents.
Yeah,
and it's not a bad looking watch for like $130 or $200.
Yeah, what I always wonder is a lot of people, they say, it needs to be steel or full gold, or at least not two-tone. But for me, two-tone has a place in watch designs.
I like
I
two-tone,
feel.
You like two-tone, Nacho, still, or
I
like weather gold or something else?
So I like it. I don't own currently any two-tone watch. I don't know what would be the one that would sort of appeal to me most. I think probably Santos.
Okay.
I think that's by far my favorite two-tone watch. But I would also say there's nothing wrong with one of those Citizens or with something from Breitling in a two-tone. Like if I know that my Aerospace, which is a bit of a problematic watch. It's a bit sort of hodgepodge modified. You look at the reference, the hands are golden. It was originally a two-tone watch. The rider tabs were then replaced, or the gold wore off. I think they were replaced. So that was originally a two-tone watch. So maybe someday if I send it to Breitling for a service, they'll return it two-tone. I don't know.
But I'm just thinking about that now. Actually, I own a two-tone watch.
Here we go.
Yeah, because the pure Explorer one has white gold indexes and hands.
Yeah,
does that count?
That doesn't count.
But then the steel buckle on my gold watch makes it two-tone as well.
Of course it does.
Let's now just decide that doesn't count.
Where do we draw the line on two-tone?
I know.
But for me, it's interesting.
That's my only thing.
Two-tone is interesting because I also see a lot of GMT masters from the 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. So the before ceramic with the aluminum bezels.
Yeah.
Those in two-tone are price-wise, I think, the same or more interesting than full steel.
You mean the root beer, for example? Or?
Yeah, for example, it's the 16713 top of my head.
Yeah.
And the steel one is the 16710. Okay. And those gold steel ones are, they have the same price tag, basically.
Mike has one of those, right?
Yeah, he has an older one, I think. And he also has a full gold GMT master.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think, man, those are nice watches. And I also remember when I just got into watches, the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Those watches were considered, if you were a car dismantler or a douchey car dealer.
Right.
Those were the watches that you associated with those kind of professions. Yeah. But I think, not today anymore. I feel that two-tone
oversized shirt, like a blazer with a little too much padding on the shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Questionable facial hair. Maybe a mullet. Going back to the mullet.
Or mustache and a mullet.
Mustache. Yeah, mustache and a mullet.
No, but I think two-tone is, for me, very interesting. And gold as such as well. And if you love gold watches and you're on a limited budget, I think vintage is the way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And also look a bit further than the established brands.
Yeah, my tip would be Doxa. I think Doxa, there's a lot of people think of Doxa as dive watches, but they've been around for many, many years. So since the 30s, 40s, 50s, they made a lot of dressier pieces. Yeah. And there's a lot out there that are just beautiful classic three-hand watches or small seconds as well. And they have solid gold cases, 14 karat, sometimes 18 karat, and they're wonderful. So if you're looking for a sort of an affordable-ish option to step into gold, that's what I would do. I would go vintage, Oh, and
one thing we often get in the comments on the website, but also like in person, the price of gold watches. Because people try to, but the price of gold per gram or ounce in the US is just this and this. So it doesn't make sense that the gold version of this watch is like 3 or 4 times the price.
Right.
I mean, if you look at a Speedmaster in steel, it's now 7.7K in euro. Mm-hmm. And the full gold versions are like 39. Well over 40K or 39K.
Over 40, yeah.
But it's not only the material or the process of making those watches, which is a little bit more expensive than steel watches.
Sure.
It's also the exclusivity and the price that people willing to pay to have something exclusive. So that also comes into play. So it is the cost price is just that, the cost price, and people just have to pay for the exclusive material and the use of that. And I think brands really, they don't elaborate on it, and they also say, hey, it's just a gold version of the watch. It's very exclusive. So hey, it comes at a different price. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the cost price of gold or the price of the tooling necessary and so on.
It's more of a connotative association, I suppose.
Exactly.
Something
it's just
in
an expensive
the
good.
of
So,
gold.
yeah.
And the good price is the price that people will pay for the product in the end.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Hey, but I feel that in general there is, and maybe you guys agree or disagree, but I think that there is a slight trend towards two-tone these days. Like we see two-tone maybe getting a little bit more popular.
Yeah, I think it started back in 2015 already a bit when Audemars Piguet came with the then current Royal Oak in two-tone. And everyone was a little bit surprised that, hey, it's coming back, or what are they doing? Yeah. And then from that moment on, you saw more and more watches doing two-tone. Yeah. Seamaster 300M is a good example, where I like the black version with the rose gold. The two-tone version is quite nice. Yeah. And also recently, the Paris Olympic Games 2024 for next year.
That's a good,
with the white dial and the moonshine yellow gold.
Yeah. That's
nice. An amazing combination.
But I also think for Rolex, for example, because you can't get a full steel version, some people are, like you were saying just earlier, some people are keen on buying a two-tone watch instead because they want a Rolex. They don't want especially that model.
True.
But the one they want, they can't have it for retail.
I guess, yeah.
So they might pay a little bit more or the same price as a second market one.
Yeah.
And they have a two-tone one. So I think also that's part of the appeal. People can't get a full steel Rolex, they go two-tone or full gold.
I think Rolex is the company that processes the most gold in Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do sell a lot of gold watches and two-tone watches.
But I have a lot of
watches
with gold inside. I mean, even I was joking with that, but even all the watches have white gold indices,
that's
or
true.
yellow gold indices, depending.
Yeah,
so that's also some gold, and then they have a lot of two-tones watches. They have some full gold also. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I think that it'll be also interesting to hear our audience's opinion on this. So we'll leave the question up to you, our listeners, and those watching on YouTube or on the website.
If it's basically worth to you spending more on a gold watch.
Exactly. Or what? How do you feel about it in general? Do you like two-tone? Do you like gold watches? Do you own them?
Are you comfortable wearing one?
Them? Are you comfortable wearing a full gold watch on a gold bracelet?
Yeah.
But maybe that's a question for another day. But I would say thank you to our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.